Hello, welcome again to another Bogi Flights video. Today we'll be taking our Grand Caravan on an IFR flight from Turku to Pori. We'll be using runway 26 as departure from Turku, and we'll be using actual aviation charts, which I'll be linking below. I'll indicate which one I used so you can actually understand what I'm babbling about in this video. I'll be using, of course, other instruments you've seen before use. The VOR actually will come in handy right now, and I'll be using basically just instrument navigation. The plane will literally fly itself, almost. I'll be using the GPS system that comes with the plane, so the plane can actually follow the flight plan that I've already have loaded. And let's verify if it's. Let's verify the navigation log. There we go. Now, the flight plan is ready, and we'll begin our flight. I already should have IFR clearance. As I said, I'm not using air traffic control in these, not even the default one, including Flight Simulator, which is very bad in my opinion, but, well, who am I to judge? I'll be pushing back away. I'm actually at the Turku fuel box. The plane actually is fully loaded on fuel, so we'll have to see. Okay, we've pushed back enough, I think. And now we'll be applying a bit of thrust. The plane will start moving. And I'll be using also the brakes at the same time to keep it from going too fast, which is it has a bad habit of doing. On the ground at least. In the air it's actually a pleasure to fly, but now let's let's use the pushback system again. This is basically, I'm using the dirty trick here, but you know, whatever works. And we'll be stopping the pushback system here. We'll be turning the plane. We'll be using taxiway Tango to go to runway 26. Remember, heading departure of 260. We'll be doing a bit of tuning of the navigational systems before departure, but I'll explain everything why as we do that. Again, of course, if you have comments or ideas or suggestions, after I finish my round Finland tour, let's call it that way, I'll be asking you if you have any other destinations where I could fly. If you enjoy what you see here, let me know, and please provide me with criticism as hopefully constructive, so I can actually improve my own skills and help you watch more entertaining videos. Of course, flying is probably not for everybody, but if you have patience to watch me and hear me babble in these videos, I thank you very much. I really appreciate that you watch my work, and I appreciate it that if you like it. Remember, my channel is open to subscribers, and my Facebook page, which will be linked below as well, is also available, so you can follow my activity. I'll be aiming to make 2 videos a week this time, so that should be enough. Because I also have my own things to do out of game, you know, in real life. I actually have a life, as much as I love airplanes. But yeah, so expect to see 2 videos a week. This will be the first one. There will be another one maybe Thursday or Friday. And we will be continuing our little trip around Finland. I think next destination will be Oulu, and we'll see, then we have to either turn east or go a bit further north than east, but we'll see. We'll be trying to use the major airports, so I usually don't drive like in this view mode, by the way. Going back to something else, it's just I find it interesting. This is the wing view for the Grand Caravan, so Also, if you want to see other types of planes, well, I'm willing to take requests even for those, but remember, many airplanes are actually payware, and I like supporting the makers. I don't really just because it takes a lot of effort to program and actually design an airplane for Flight Simulator X. And here we'll put the engines to idle. We'll put on the parking brakes, and we'll go to the virtual cockpit view. What do we have to do? As I said, I will have to use the VR in this case. Why? After takeoff, I will have to tune my, basically I will have to use the Rusko VR, which is, what was 11520 if I remember right, or 11550, my apologies, and set this to standby, and nav 1, as you can see this is a Turku VR, I'm 0.8 miles away from it. On the second one I will actually program this to another VOR, which is closer to Pori. I'll be using that as soon as I'm in flight. My navigation to radio 113.2. They do come, these VOR stations also have DME included, so it will be okay to use. Then we'll set our course to, departure course to 260, my apologies. I went a bit overboard to there, to 230. 258, 259, 250. We're a bit right of the VOR station, so that's why the needle is a bit there. And we'll be actually also tuning up the autopilot. I'll be using a flight altitude of 8,000 feet. Actually, let's make it 6,000 feet. The flight plan was filed between 6 and 8,000 feet. This plane doesn't really have a very high service ceiling because, well, it wasn't really designed to operate at very high altitude. I'm pretty sure it can operate higher than that, but it never hurts to be safe. And then we will do one more step. We will set the flaps position 2. We'll verify that our flaps are ready. And after setting the parking brake, which I forgot, my mistake, we'll be setting power to full. Here's a little view from the tower, and I'll be releasing the parking brake now. We'll try to keep centered with the runway, 42 knots, and 50 at 70 we will be starting the rotation. Okay, and there we go, the caravan's off the ground, and we are on our way to Pori. At this point I will be switching back to the actual cockpit. I need to keep on my DME specifically. I'll need to turn off on a heading of 348, then 357 if I recall right. We'll continue climbing at about 100 knots and at a vertical speed of 500 feet per minute. We're approaching 500 feet. Here's a view from the tower. We're actually over the tree line. One of my main concerns actually in Finland, because many airports are surrounded by forests, is hitting the tree line. But I'm pretty sure we'll be okay. And we'll retract flaps to position 1. The plane will start accelerating at this point. We're flying on a heading of 255, so let's adjust that a little bit. And well, let's go to 260, so we're actually on the correct outbound course from the VOR, and we'll continue our climb. Distance 1.7 miles. Let's turn a little bit to the right, and let's see when we reach 260. There we go. And we'll continue our climb. Not 1,000 feet per minute, that's a bit much. Let's try to keep it steady. The plane is at full power, and you can see here I have navigation radio 1 active. Let's turn a little bit to the left. We're drifting a bit to the right, so we'll be turning to 260, 3 miles. And what I was saying is, well, how do I know the turns I have to make? Actually, I'm using departure charts. So after departure, we're turning 347 and 357. So we'll be flying about 5 miles on a heading of 347. Then we'll turn towards the first waypoint. The turn will occur at 5 miles from the airport. You can see on the DME system here, I'm actually 3.6 miles away. (2,000 feet), and the plane is climbing on its own. Well, almost on its own. I'm just simply adjusting it as needed. I'm flying outbound, well, a bit 4 degrees to the left from the VOR. We'll adjust the course to match. To intercept the needle, 261, 5.2 nautical miles. Now we're turning on a heading of 347. I did the turn a little bit late, but that's not really the biggest problem. And from here I will have to be about another 5 miles away. Basically I will have to be at about 8 miles when I turn to 357 and activate the actual autopilot system. Three, 4, 7. Okay, let's straighten this out. We have to try to be precise at least. 347. Let's lower the climbing speed. Okay, now we're gonna fly like this until about 8 miles. Then we're gonna go turn to 357 and allow the plane to continue on its own course. Basically, at this point, the tower would have told us to start using our own navigation system. Flaps should be fully retracted by now, if they weren't, because now we can actually climb a bit faster and accelerate. We don't really need to stay. I could fly this whole flight manually, but I'm not really familiar with the ground, so I'll be allowing the GPS system to deal with the whole shebang. And why are we on 352? The plane kept turning a bit to the left. Right, my apologies, 347. Also, while talking, I wasn't really paying attention, so that's a bad thing to do. We need to be precise here, as I keep saying. And we are now almost 8 miles. We'll be turning on a track of 357 to the right. And here we will activate the autopilot. We will activate the GPS system and tell the plane to hold navigation. Also, very important, I forgot, we should activate the flight director. Then we'll set this to N2, 49 miles from Pori. The plane is going at full power, and we'll turn off nav 1 and nav 2 1. The DME has already intercepted the Pori VOR, which, there we go, is at 113.2. The plane will continue climbing to 6,000 feet, and there's not a big rush here anymore. We're almost 5,000 feet, and let's verify our position. The plane, as I said before, does come with the GPS system. Oh well, we've basically, according to the GPS, I should have flown this a little bit differently, but I was trying to stay true to the actual departure charts for the airport. And now, of course, we can look around as much as the GPS screen allows us to look. It's about 1 minute, so 4 miles to the Turku intersection. Then we will be using the GPS to basically, GPS will guide us to the next one and so on. It's about 58 miles to Pori. So how much would be? About 70 kilometers. My math could be wrong, of course. Now let's set this to N2. Which we will be using. Then we will be simply waiting for the plane to get close to the Idnis station, Idnis intersection. From there we will be making another turn, and then one other, and we'll be actually being directed to the Pori VOR. Then we'll be setting the course for our current system for 300, which is the actually 301. So we will be basically flying the course of 301 on the primary VOR. Well, actually on the secondary, we're a bit, according to that, we're a bit left. Yes, we are, well, way more left than we should be from the VOR, because we're approaching from the southwest. Well, we'll ask our lovely assistant where shall we fly after Pori, and the next video, which will be later this week. We're flying along the coast, so the western coast. Oulu should be the next one. Oulu should be the next one. Well, you heard it, folks. Has been decided. Oulu is the next destination.
Yeah, as far as I know, there should be an airport there.
It's quite a large one, actually.
Yeah, I meant like a big one. I know there's an airport.
And of course, we're about 4 minutes away from Erako. Then we have Idnis. This is quite a short flight, by the way, for an IFR flight. And we're flying about, I think at about Idnis we will begin our descent at about 1,000 feet per minute to 2,200. Most of the turns will be done at 2,200 feet. Remember, if you do go on overspeed down, I'm on full realism, the plane will break apart. It's no joke. It has happened to me before, and well, it wasn't pretty. But let's do this descent actually gradually. I'll be first programming the autopilot to get us down to 4,000 feet. Not very fast. It's not really a big rush. And we'll cut off a bit of power from. and a little lower. There we go. I thought the flap speed would be a bit more, but we're actually descending at 170 knots, which is actually quite fast. Let's set the descent speed to 700 feet per minute. I don't want the plane to break apart, so what we did here was basically going up, flying straight a little bit, then going back down. And let's verify again we are approaching Erako, Idnis, and from Idnis I have to verify our first turn on my approach charts, which will be at heading of 341 for about 12.4 miles. And the chart should say if Erako or actual Tuxel is an actual VOR or NDB. Now specification, let's see. Okay, Idnis doesn't really have any frequencies I could use. So yeah, we'll be basically having to be doing a bit of math in our heads. 341 is the first turn after Idnis. We don't have heading hold set, so we'll set the heading now to 341 for the first turn. Three, 4, 1. There we go, heading set. I'll be using the heading hold system. You will actually see it in use. The plane basically will be just simply following the heading I give it, and 12 miles will be the next point, Tuxel. Then we will have to, according to our approach chart, we will have to, from Tuxel, we will have to turn in on a heading of 20028. Then finally at Ulvis, which is the Ulvila VOR, I think. No, it's not. Ulvila is not a VOR, it's an intersection, my mistake. But let's check the charts here. Ulvila is our waypoint. From there we will turn on a heading of 300 and begin our descent. We are almost at 4,000 feet. We are getting there closely. 4,300. Okay. Well, of course you see a lot of my dashboard here now because I actually have to check the instruments constantly. It's an instrument flight, so I have to keep an eye on where I am and what am I doing. My throttle is currently at descent about 66%, which is what it should be. And we're at 4,000 feet. Okay, at this point we're going to do something else. We're going to tell the autopilot to take us down to 3,000. Which at Idnis we should be at 3,000, and we'll be preparing to disengage the GPS, basically set it on navigation hold, and we'll enable heading hold. It's about 1 minute, and then we'll have to do the switch so we can actually use the heading hold system. NAV2 is our primary VOR now, so it's using, and as soon as we're there we have to set up the localizer, which was, according to the map, well, I'll have to check that because I do not know the frequency for the Pori localizer. It's 109.1. So we'll be setting that in the primary navigation radio, 109.1. This is just localizer, so this will be basically the thing that guides our plane down to the runway. And we are approaching ITNIS. I'm preparing to disengage the GPS and disengage GPS hold, and we are at 0 miles from ITNIS. Now GPS will be set to off. We'll be going to the autopilot, remove nav, and heading hold. We already programmed the plane. It will start turning soon to the right on heading of 341. And we'll be flying like this for about 12 miles, which is basically when we're about 10 miles, we continue our turn to the right on a heading of 0 to 8. And let's tell the autopilot to have us descend to 2200 as indicated by the chart. The rest will be actually done manually, so we don't have to hold altitude that much. And let's verify our and we'll set this as to primary 119.10. We are getting close to Pori. Let's see, at 10 miles we'll be turning to 0 to 8. Then we will be turning to 301 actually, my mistake, so we can actually intercept the localizer. Altitude 2400, we're getting there slowly. As you can see, the instrument flight is a little bit more complicated. Well, on VFR basically, you don't really have to worry much about the actual navigational instruments. Here I actually do. I need to use actual charts. I need to use, of course, everything basically to its most efficient. And I need to know what turns to execute, when to execute, because each airport has a set of pre-made approach and departure charts, so those need to be respected. Every single plane that actually comes to the airport has to respect those indications. After all, if they didn't have those, it would be basically chaos in the sky. Or maybe order. No, actually it would be chaos. I was just joking. We are approaching at almost 10 miles. The 028 flight will actually only be done at about only 5 miles. Then we'll be actually making a sharp turn to 301. And I will be disengaging the altitude hold and set the plane as soon as we reach the localizer's green spot here on the GPS. We will be using the actual approach hold in the autopilot to hopefully try to do an instrument landing. You will need for each airport, this is an example, you will need standard approach charts to land and the ILS charts to perform an instrument landing landing using the ILS. Speed 150 knots, so that should be good. We're not over speeding at least. Here on the speed indicator, basically everything above 180 knots should already be a bit too much. The plane will start basically taking damage and suffering at that point. We're approaching the turn point at this approximately at this blue line. We will be turning to the right on 0 to 8. Then 300 to intercept localizer. The localizer system is basically another radio station which emits a Morse code and allows the autopilot to actually use that wave to navigate all the way to the runway. Almost there, almost there. I'm preparing to set the heading to 0 to 8. The plane isn't turning because it's under autopilot control. So I can pull on the stick as much as I like at this point. The autopilot is handling the airplane as needed. I could of course always hide the yoke, but 12 miles, and now we will be executing the turn. 0 to 8. Whoa, 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 that's a bit too much. Again, I went a bit overboard with clicking, wanting to actually do the turn correctly. .28 to the right. The plane is turning. It's almost on the heading. We can actually see up here where it says 28. We're on a heading of 0 to 8, and as soon as we're almost perpendicular to the localizer, to the runway, we will be turning to 301. I'm preparing to execute the turn. Basically, this is about 5 miles. We're about 4 miles actually from the airport. Let's check it out. And turn to 301. VOR, as you see here, the VOR needle tells me I'm a bit too far right from the actual VOR, but we're 10 miles from the airport, and the needle will start getting a bit more sensitive as we approach. Well, probably the turn was a little bit too early, but let's see where are we standing. That's the airport right there. Okay, at this point, I don't really need the guidance of the GPS system anymore. I don't really need to see where I'm going because I know where I'm going. But with the autopilot on, I can't really turn the plane. I may try to, but I cannot. So, but apparently I can. I'm turning at 312. Well, we can see here from the back view, that's the actual airport, the Pori airport. We'll try to line up with it. And let's verify the GPS to see where we are. We'll be beginning our descent soon. We are almost at the localizer threshold. Let's turn. And let's close this window. We'll go look at our activate radio 1, and on the autopilot panel we'll be disengaging altitude hold and activate approach hold. Now the plane will align itself hopefully with the runway, and let's verify the vertical speed. It's going down a bit fast, and let's verify. Flaps down. Let's give it a little bit power. The plane is aligning with the runway. There we go. This is basically what I was explaining about the localizer. It's simply helping our plane align with the airport. I have no control over it until it intercepts the localizer correctly, and it's descending rather slowly towards the runway. According to the VASI lights, which are the glide slope indicators, we are actually on a correct approach. And will be one more turn. And now the plane is actually using the localizer to center with the runway. I haven't done ILS landing in a long time, so if this fails, of course, well, hopefully the plane can get repaired. We're at 900 feet. We're on glide slope according to the VASI lights, And we're lowering flaps one more time. Nope. And we're cutting off speed. We are at flaps limits, 135 knots. We should be touching the runway down very, very soon. I'll have to disengage autopilot as soon as we are 500 feet. Engines at idle. Full flaps. There we go, 300 feet. We're about at 90 knots. We will be touching down beyond the line. I'll prepare to disengage autopilot. Autopilot disengaged, I'll flare. And we are on the runway at Pori using the ILS landing system. Well, hopefully next year we can fly here for the Jazz Festival, who knows? There's actually a very good one in Pori every year. I have never been there, but I definitely recommend that you people go there and visit it if you have the occasion. We'll raise the flaps. Engines to idle. And we'll announce runway Somos 103 on the ground. We'll exit runway on next taxiway. Well, my assistant wasn't here to see the landing, but she will see it when the video is done. One mistake I did was enabling the landing lights. If there was any traffic, they wouldn't have seen me, so. I'll disengage all autopilot modes. After all, we have no need of them anymore. And let's not forget to disengage the annoying beep in the radio. We'll be taking taxiway Charlie, which is right here. I've never been to Pori Airport before, so I might be a little slow at navigating my way around, but we have to get off the runway so we don't interfere with incoming traffic. Well, apparently I didn't really see well, and I got off the runway a bit early. My mistake, apologies. As I said, I'm still new at this, I'm still rusty. I haven't flown since Flight Simulator 2004 was around. I'll be going directly to the fuel box, which is right there. And let's set the engines to idle. And we'll just stop right here. We'll set the parking brakes. And time to cut off the engine fuel. Mixture off. We'll start turning off the lights. Our avionics are still on. Let's deactivate the radios. Flight director. Let's see what else. Instrument panel lights. Batteries. And all the other electrical systems. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the flight. We're still out. We're somewhere on the grass actually, because I don't really see very well. So we've stopped the plane, very close to the actual fuel box, and we are in Pori. Well, I hope you enjoyed the flight. Hopefully next time I'll be able to do the actual taxiing better, which is apparently still a problem if it's at night. I don't see anything at all. But if you liked, let me know. I would like to hear your comments, good or bad. They will help me improve, hopefully. And hopefully we will be able to keep a civilized conversation on the topic of aviation. Remember, if you liked, subscribe, and I will see you for the next flight. Pori to Oulu. Bye bye.